Since 1816, Indiana's government has been led by three main sections: the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. You may be familiar with the three branches of government because the federal government in Washington, D.C. has them too. The legislative, executive, and judicial branches in Indiana form our state's government, and the legislative, executive, and judicial branches in Washington, D.C. form the United States national government. The Indiana Constitution of 1816 continued to guide the three branches until it was replaced by a new state constitution in 1851. Since Indiana's population had multiplied more than 10 times its original population, in 1850, 150 delegates met for another constitutional convention to write a new agreement. If you visit the State House in Indianapolis, you can see the original 1816 Constitution and the 1851 Constitution. Even though the legislative, executive, and judicial branches have different functions, they are designed to be each other's equal, so no branch is more powerful than the other. We call this the system of checks and balances. Let's start with the legislative branch. It is made up of a group of people called the General Assembly. The General Assembly has two bodies, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Senators and representatives are also called legislators, which is a person who makes laws. And that's exactly what state representatives and senators do. They are elected by Indiana citizens to make new laws and improve old ones. The Senate has 50 members, and the House of Representatives has 100 members. A senator is elected for 4 years, and a representative is elected for 2 years. Did you know you have a senator and a representative that represent you? If you have a problem that you think could be addressed by a new law or by making changes to an old law, you could reach out to your senator or representative to talk with them about it. Together, you could introduce a written explanation of the law, called a bill, and if the bill gains enough support in the House and Senate, it could become a state law. The next branch is the executive branch. Throughout Indiana, there are so many offices that apply the laws and keep the state working. The executive branch is made up of 6 elected positions. The people who hold these positions are called executive officers, and all the offices in the state report to the officers. They go to work for you and Indiana citizens at the State House, and if you come visit the State House in Indianapolis, you can see where their executive offices are. The governor is the leader of the executive branch. They are responsible for keeping the state operating every day. The lieutenant governor is second in command behind the governor. Besides being the head of many departments, like the Department of Agriculture, they are president of the Senate. That means if senators tie when voting on a bill, the lieutenant governor gets to cast the tie-breaking vote. The Attorney General is the chief legal officer in the state. The Attorney General and the other people in their office represent the state in court. The auditor is in charge of money. They check all the money that goes out of the state's bank account. They make sure that Indiana pays its bills on time and that state and local governments receive the money they need to operate. They even make sure the governor gets their paycheck. The Indiana treasurer deals with money too, but they don't send money out. They are in charge of the money coming into the state. They make sure that the state is investing their money wisely so Indiana can be financially strong. The Secretary of State supervises our elections so they run smoothly and so we know that the results are correct. They also keep records of businesses, people that buy and sell vehicles, and people that advise others on how to invest money. Their job is important because it helps support Indiana businesses and protects them from people that might want to take advantage of them. The last branch is the judicial branch. The judicial branch includes the Indiana Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and trial courts. Judge sounds like judicial, right? This can help you remember that judges work in the judicial branch. If someone goes to court and judges make a decision they disagree with, they can go to the Indiana Court of Appeals and ask them to hear their case. This is called appealing. The Indiana Court of Appeals has 15 judges that listen to the appeals and decide whether the local court's decisions were right or wrong. If the Court of Appeals decides that the local court's ruling was correct, and the person still disagrees with the decision, they can appeal again to the Indiana Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the state. 5 judges work in the Supreme Court. They are called justices. The word just means right or fair, and justices have to decide what is right and fair. When people disagree on what a law means, it is the justice's job to make sure that the law is being understood correctly. Sometimes they have to decide if a law is constitutional. This means that we have a set of beliefs in our Constitution, and our laws cannot go against that set of beliefs. The Constitution is like a rule book that keeps us on track, and the judicial branch is like the referee that makes sure we play by the rules. Remember when we learned that we vote for senators, state representatives, and the executive officers? Well, we don't vote for the judges in the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals. A committee researches people that have practiced law in Indiana for a long time. Then they choose 3 people who they think would be the best judge. The governor picks one of these people for the job. After the judge has worked in the position on the Supreme Court or Court of Appeals for 2 years, Indiana voters decide if they are doing a good job. On the ballot, they check yes or no. If most people vote yes, they can continue being a judge for 10 years before citizens get to decide if they're still doing a good job. If most people vote no, the governor must pick a new person for the job. We just learned a lot about the 3 branches of Indiana's government. Let's review. The legislative branch is made up of elected senators and representatives that make laws and improve old ones. The executive branch has executive officers, like the governor, that apply the laws and keep the state working. The judicial branch's judges make sure Hoosiers get fair trials in court and that our laws are being understood correctly.